Hi, this is Rich Carlson. Welcome to another episode of The Art of Rope Work here at Canyons and Crags. Today, we're going to be talking about static blocks. There are many advantages and some cautions. So grab your gear and a rope and follow along. Blocks are rigging systems set up for rappel using an object that is too large to pass through a rappel ring. The object could be a carabiner or it could be a big knot. There are several advantages to this type of rigging. One is the efficient use of the rope. I might be carrying 200 feet of rope in my rope bag, but I get to a rappel that's only, let's say, 50 feet. Rather than deploying the entire rope, I only have to deploy the 50 feet that I need for this particular rappel. Another big advantage is I'm holding a lot of the rope in reserve. If it's a 50-foot rappel, I have another 150 feet of rope in the rope bag. This is rope that I can use to execute a rescue if necessary. I could use this rope to convert the system to a lower. I could rig to haul the person back up to the top, or I could secure this rope up on the anchor and use it to rappel down to render assistance. There's another advantage for this kind of rigging system in sports like canyoneering, where you might be rappelling into water. Because I can set the rope length using the block, people are able to rappel, get to the end of the rope, rappel right off the end and swim away. It should be pretty obvious from looking at the rigging system that there is only one safe side of this rope. Rappelling on the other side would be dangerous because it's not a secure rope. That shouldn't be an issue because the whole idea behind blocks is to keep the rest of the rope on the top of the rappel secured with only one rope hanging over. Unfortunately, there have been incidents where someone has grabbed the rope bag and thrown it over the side. If that happens in a group that you're with, you need to initiate Rich's now famous two-step process. The first step in the process does involve bitch slapping. The second step in the process is to make this system secure. I don't want two ropes hanging over the wall when only one of them is secure. Securing the second rope is actually quite simple. All you need to do is take the clove hitch on the carabiner and turn it so it's on the wide end of the carabiner, and then take the carabiner and clip it up to the anchor. Now I have a system set up where either side of the rope is safe for someone to rappel on. Well, needless to say, the last person in the group needs to be smart enough to remember to retrieve the carabiner and set the system up like a normal block for their rappel. So I'm going to lock the carabiner again, turn the clove hitch over to the spine of the carabiner. The last person also needs to be smart enough to make absolutely sure that they rappel on the correct side of the rope. If what we have set up is a knot block instead of a carabiner block, this one is even simpler. It should be pretty obvious that all I need to do is take a carabiner, clip it into the loop created by the figure 8 knot, and clip that to the anchor. Just like before, I now have a setup that is safe on both sides. Another issue that comes up from time to time with carabiner blocks is people mistakenly tying something other than a good, secure clove hitch on the spine of the carabiner. Too often I've seen people throw a clove hitch onto the carabiner, pull it up against the rappel ring, and just assume that the weight of the first person rappelling is going to cinch down the clove hitch properly. That's not the way to go about it. What you need to do is be very purposeful about cinching the clove hitch down on the spine. Some instructors have gone so far as to come up with different variations of a clove hitch, trying to protect people from tying something incorrectly. Personally, I think that's the wrong approach. What we need to be teaching people is to double check their own hitches and to use a buddy system, make sure their partners check as well. If I've tied the clove hitch correctly, it's pretty obvious what it looks like on the backside. But even then, there's a simple test. Grab the rope, grab the carabiner, and pull. If I tied, say, a munter hitch by mistake, it's not going to bind and hold. After I've tested it, pass it off to a partner. Ask them to test it too. Grab that carabiner and pull. Make sure the clove hitch is cinched down nice and tight. Then place it up against the rappel ring and get ready for your rappel. This is obviously not a good clove hitch and needs to be fixed. When a clove hitch does this, it is due to one of two things. The person who tied it was sloppy in setting it, or the rope is too stiff and just won't cinch down tight. The solution to the first issue is obvious. Be more purposeful when you tie and set the clove hitch. The solution to the second issue could be to get rid of that stiff rope and get one that is more supple, but that isn't always an option. When I first introduced StaticBlocks to canyoneers in the United States, I taught both carabiner blocks and KnotBlocks. You really should learn and become comfortable with both. People stuck on carabiner blocks came up with something called a triple clove hitch to deal with stiff rope issues. A standard clove hitch is tied with 2 overlapping loops of rope. The triple clove hitch adds a third overlapping loop. All 3 loops need to be cinched down tight on the spine of the carabiner. The triple clove hitch may be an improvement over the standard clove hitch in many situations, but has not completely eliminated the problem with stiff ropes. So now there are discussions about switching to a constrictor hitch instead. None of that is necessary. When you are dealing with a stiff rope that won't hold a clove hitch snug on the carabiner, switch to a KnotBlock. The knot of choice for this is a figure 8 on a bite. It will pull much like a flat overhand and will be less likely to become stuck when you are retrieving your rope. Several months ago, someone came on an internet forum complaining that their stiff rope won't hold a clove hitch for a carabiner block. I suggested they switch to a KnotBlock instead. A second person came on and said he didn't like KnotBlocks because the knot became difficult to untie after loading. I then suggested clipping a carabiner into 2 of the strands inside the figure 8 knot as pictured here to keep the knot slightly open, which will make untying the knot a snap. A third person came on and asked, if you have a carabiner, why not just do a carabiner block? This setup actually provides benefits of both carabiner block and KnotBlock. Some people like to clip a carabiner into the loop of the figure 8 knot. It is completely unnecessary, but it gives them a warm fuzzy feeling. Others will clip a carabiner from the loop onto the rappel rope as shown here. I admit to doing it myself when I first started using KnotBlocks more than 25 years ago. I know better now. Doing this has little value beyond that warm fuzzy. It does, however, create a much greater chance of getting your rope stuck when pulling. And in a waterfall, the knot and carabiner are likely to spin like a propeller and twist the ropes. People sometimes express concern about a KnotBlock tied with a thin 8mm rope, or even a carabiner block, slipping through a rappel ring. I've been asked what kind of block should be used on those giant quick links that are sometimes found at rappel stations. The solution is simple. Replace the damn things. The ideal size for quick links is 8mm or 5/16 inch. Personally, I believe everyone involved in rope work should know how to use StaticBlocks. But having said that, I also think they are greatly overused. I mentioned at the beginning of this video that blocks allow us to keep rope in reserve at the top for rescue. Unfortunately, most people using blocks have not learned the necessary rescue techniques or haven't practiced enough to be proficient when the need arises. In most situations, it would make much more sense to rig a releasable contingency system to make rescues quick and simple. There is another type of block called a releasable block that will be the subject of a future video. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. If you think it will benefit others, please share it on your favorite social media. The best way to keep this old man motivated to produce more videos like this one, while I still can, will be to subscribe to my channel. Thanks.